Greetings, greetings. I know I'm not leaving that intro going that long, but you know what? I'm eager. I'm eager. How's my lighting doing? Oh, I look kind of dark. Should I turn? Get that going. Open the window a little more. I might have to just turn the light in the room on. Might have to do it. And how's my sound? Am I sounding all right? Wow, 6 a.m. in Tasmania. Nice. You a Hobart person? You living out in the country? I want to go to Tasmania. Thanks, Sarah. All right, good. Yeah, this is going to be good. It sure is. All right, I'm just finalizing a couple chess games. Chess.com. Oh, yeah. It was funny the other day. I'm kind of new to chess.com, but I do enjoy chess. But I've never played it for real. And so it's fun and competitive in some ways. So I changed my profile picture. And I happened to have a screenshot from one of the thumbnails I made. And it was just Gandalf. And one of the guys that I've played a few games with changed his profile picture without my knowledge to Theoden while he was a crispy old king, you know, kind of captive in the movies by Sauron. And it was pretty hilarious. And I immediately messaged him. And then I thought, wow, did we just become best friends on this chess.com? And bold of him to go with the Theoden who's all crusty and old. But I thought that was funny. John remembers chess very well. Does he? Well, I've played many games with John. It's fun. One time John said that I always beat him. And maybe I've beat him, but I also think in my head, he always beat me. So I'm thinking back to our friend's lake house and we'd go up there and we'd play. And in my head, he would always win. And I was happy that I won like one time. But I thought he said one time that I would always win. And I just thought it was hilarious that I think we both probably played a number of games, but we only remember the times we lose because we're like, oh man, I can't believe we lost. So anyway, I think that's funny. Honestly, Sylvia, that kind of is a thing. If you're playing and you don't really know, beginner's luck is real because I think people expect certain strategies. So then when you do certain moves, it throws people off. They're like, oh man, this person must be a chess genius. What are they doing over there? Yeah, Nemo, I can't even imagine waking up at 6 a.m. When I wake up at 6 a.m. to feed Calvin, it's with plans to go back to sleep multiple other times before I actually get up. Whew. Yeah. And Hunt Clan, welcome. Glad you're here. I'm also glad that chess is part of Lord of the Rings. Cool. It's been mentioned. And I think we mentioned that on the stream. Byzantine circular chess? What in the world? Sounds kind of fun. Yeah, so I guess, yeah. Oh, okay, nice. I just saw with peanut butter. Banana with peanut butter, nice. I had banana bread this morning. That's a good idea. I should have put peanut butter on it. I made banana bread yesterday, first time. I think it was pretty successful. I overcooked it, a little dry, but I'll get better at it. Banana with peanut butter. That's how I make my smoothies. Have with milk? That's such a good idea. I put more like butter on it, and then I'm like, it's taken away whatever amount of healthiness it might have been. I don't know if you can call banana bread healthy, but No added sugar, just a little butter in there. But then when you start spreading all the butter on it, then I'm like, but with milk, that's a good idea. And with peanut butter, this is great, guys. I think we just are about to start a cooking channel, team cooking. We just open up the kitchen and start going to town. Yeah, Sarah, you're right. That's what we did, and it is the bomb because it just adds more delicious fat and salt. Yeah. But yeah, dipping it in milk. What I'm trying to think what country pours things over, like milk over things. I know it's like kind of like tres leche, and that's cool, but I feel like there are other places. In England, do they do that? Hobart born and bred. Nice. Excellent. They were doing, when I was in Sydney, they were doing I think it was Hobart to Sydney, or is it Sydney to Hobart? Big old sailing race. Pretty fun watching that. I think it's Sydney to Hobart because I think we were watching the start of it. Yeah. And okay, interesting, Tim. Yeah, bananas with the milk. Let me think. No, I think I'm down. It's not about the bananas. It's about the bread. That's what we get excited about, The bananas are just a flavoring to the bread, but I think I'm down. I think I'm down with it. Nemo. So I didn't have any good beer for the stream, so I just went with Woodford Reserve bourbon. It's funny. I don't really have alcohol that much, but it just feels so right on the stream somehow. Loosens everybody up, and it feels the right kind of Middle Earth thing to do. But do they ever mention hard alcohol, or is it always beers? Yes. Mead, maybe. But do we hear anything more? I can't think of it, but they must. They must have distilleries, right? Wine for sure, true. Oh, I could have done wine. Somehow feels a little early for wine, but no, it isn't. Ale and mead. Okay, but maybe we don't have mention of anything more than that. Oh, but they do mention, you're right, drunk on spirits, but brandy. Oh, I don't have any brandy in the house. True. Oh yeah, they mentioned brandy in the Hobbit, right? Didn't guards get drunk on brandy? That's a way throwback because I don't remember that much from the Hobbit. And what would grog be? We talked about that a little bit. And I looked at getting whatever the liquor was that someone said is closest to grog. Was it Icelandic or something? But it was pretty expensive. So we said, not yet. Maybe we should get it though. I'll look again. I'll look right now. Oh, it's talking about the real grog. We want orc grog. Ooh, there's gashag, which is burned water, a sailor's rum mix. Oh, mixed drinks. You start with dark rum. You put in boiling water, brown sugar, lime juice, cinnamon stick, orange peel. This isn't bad at all. They're making this seem almost too good. Whiskey, honey ginger syrup, lemon juice, apple cider, salt rim, cooked bacon bits. Whoa, earthy with a kick, unique savory edge. Wow. Yeah, we don't really want orc grog, but we can just reference it. 2 parts water, 1 part rum. Huh? Sounds pretty hydrating. As I read, sometimes I am looking for snack things as a throwback to the earlier podcast days, where in Harry Potter we would have the snacks of whatever we would read in that chapter. So if it mentions Hagrid with his whiskey feeding to the horses, we get whiskey. And if it mentions big old bread or some kind of candy or chocolate frogs, we would get all those things and we would eat them while we go. And I've mentioned before, eating into the microphone, not ideal. Some people hated it. So we were like, oh, well, let's not do that all the time. But I still think in those terms where if I'm reading and I see that Pippin is putting delicious butter on bread and soaking it in, it makes me want to do that while reading. So I do keep that in mind, and maybe I'm going to have to do that with some brandy or sherry or whatever else they mention. Oh, at Bilbo's dinner party. Nice. Okay. Ooh, and elven drinks. Yes, sounds great. All right, let's see where we're at. Love the sound of turning pages. All right. I only took a peek at the chapter title, and now I'm turn the page, take a real look. The last debate. And the first line is, "The morning came after the day of battle." There we are. No time has passed. It's just the next morning, which means for Aragorn, basically no sleep at all. He is a good man. So at the end of the last chapter, just seeing the chapter title and knowing whatever I do know about the storyline, I'd said, I think that this is where in the movie Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas were all discussing with Gandalf, and I don't remember who else was there, but I think could it have just been the four of them? And they were kind of saying, what do we do now? So debate is interesting because I'm assuming it's going to be that crew. I kind of want, what's his name, Prince Imrahil to be there. It feels like that should start things. Like, hey, let's get this resolved. Who's in charge here? Then I kind of want Faramir to be involved. But we heard something about, like, he shouldn't be going too far. He should, be relaxing, and they aren't going to let him leave. So I don't know how involved he'll be, but it feels like it would be respectful for him to be involved. Wow, we got some 12:45 a.m. Oof. That's pretty intense. You guys are crushing it. Wait, Nemo, where are you? 12:45. What's that mean? That feels... I have no idea. Where is that? a.m. Yeah, sleep is overrated. I had to catch up on sleep today, and I did. It was amazing. Oh, Hunt Clan, you got your limits. All that talk yesterday of Herb, Merry and Pippin. Merry taking his... I saw John... I see his videos ahead of time, but I don't watch them. So then I saw his title of Merry quitting smoking or quitting drinking, whatever he said. And I thought that was funny because then I finally got to the chapter and I was like, okay. So he quit for like 3 minutes and then immediately was like, yeah, you're right. Actually, I am going to smoke. And think of Theoden while he does. It's great. Nice. Fair point. We don't want any addiction, only addicted to good things. We can get addicted to reading, right? Or maybe we don't want to be addicted to anything. Full self-discipline and control. And look at that, giving yourself limits. I love that. Once a week, soak it in and enjoy it. I just got life insurance. Now that there's another child in the mix here, the first child of the next generation. I thought, well, I better have life insurance. What if I die? Jen's got to be taken care of, and Calvin. And in my life insurance thing that I applied for, I had to talk about drinking and smoking and all that jazz. They got all my medical records, and they allow 1 cigar a month. And that's actually fine. That's probably what I average anyway. But now, all of a sudden, it feels like a restriction. But I've been enjoying it. So you know what? I'm going to just look forward to it. And we're not allowed to have Cuban cigars. But I may or may not have had a friend in Cuba recently who came back a few days ago and brought one. So now I get to look forward to the one a month where I have that. And it'll be great. All right. Yeah, 12:45 should be over there, right? That's why I was like, all right, India, where's that? Some of my coworkers are in India. But I haven't been working in so long. It's great. Yeah, weird time zones. I gotta pull up my little time zone map so I can know where everybody is. Actually, I literally am going to do that. That's cool. Oh, yeah. It's not the most clear, but I think it gives the picture. Here's what I'm looking at. Oh, that's not the one. There's the one. What a map. What a map. Yeah, somewhere way out here. Cool. All right. Enough about time zones. I'm going to keep looking at it because I'm fascinated, but not as fascinated as I am by this chapter. Ooh, wow. You put some thought into that, Hun Clan. I like that. Excellent, Sylvia. Same time zone. Love it. 8:19, Melon military time. So Sarah and Melon, you're both in the old 8:19, huh? Well, I'm gonna pull the map back up. Whoa. 6 hours ahead, which means to London plus one more. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to Greenwich Mean Time, and then 6. Oh, but the 6 is a funny one because it goes through most of Europe, even way out into Africa. Wow, the 6th zone seems huge. Interesting. Glad a bunch of you guys are out there. Cool. So that can be all parts of Africa and Central Europe. And then, okay, makes sense. Ireland would be the 7:19, 5 hours, Greenwich Mean Time. Cool. All right. And speaking of time, it's morning time after the day of battle. And it was fair with light clouds and the wind turning westward. Legolas and Gimli, here we go, early abroad, and they begged leave to go up into the city, for they were eager to see Merry and Pippin. Oh, were they with Aragorn then down in his tent? And I love that they were eager to see them. You know, they're not just like, they're not just travel people with them, travel buddies. They're like actually friends, which is cool. I love that there was front of mind for them. And I guess they've spent so long chasing them down and saving them. And it's cool. It's good to learn that they are still alive, said Gimli, for they cost us great pains in our march over Rohan, and I would not have such pains all wasted. that's pretty funny. Well, I'm sure he cares deeply, but that's a funny line. Because, yeah, they did put a lot of effort into keeping them safe. It would be a shame if then they just died here in battle. And we talked about that tough debate, or I talked about it, I should say, in one of the videos where Aragorn had to make that choice. And they all discussed it, but I think Aragorn kind of had the weight of responsibility and being in charge. And he decided that the pressing matter was going after Merry and Pippin. But ultimately, he chose that instead of following after Frodo and Sam. And I kind of wonder if when he's going to sleep at night, if he's thinking about that. Did I make the right choice? Maybe Legolas and Gimli too. So if after all of that, Merry and Pippin end up, dying in some kind of battle, it would put a damper on everything. I'm just looking on the stream and I'm seeing a picture of myself and thinking, wow, it is pretty delayed. It's still showing the map share. Wait, what am I doing? Let me speed this up. All right, good. I had to fix my settings over here. So it feels like if they were questioning that decision, it would make them feel worse if everything's wasted. They ended up dying in battle, and maybe we should have gone after Frodo and Sam. Or maybe are these more mature men that they don't question their decisions and they say, we've made the decision and we are moving on. Forward looking only. Together, the elf and the dwarf entered Minas Tirith, and folk that saw them pass marveled to see such companions. Yeah, I'm sure they marveled to see elves at all, or dwarves at all. I mean, Denethor doesn't feel that welcoming in general. We saw Gandalf go to Minas Tirith, but how many other foreigners, elves and dwarves, would they interact with? This must have been rare anyway, let alone that it says such companions. An elf and a dwarf just hanging out. I wonder what the general perception from men would be of elves and dwarves. Did they picture them just hating each other and always fighting? Or maybe not actively fighting, but just kind of like enmity between the two? So seeing this, they're like, wait, are they not enemies? Wait, are elves and dwarves actually friends? Are the tales all wrong? That's so cool. They're like healing all of the Middle Earth bias. Did Snow? That's exactly what I thought. Frodo ran off because he didn't want company. True. And Aragorn, I think, acknowledged that on some level, right? He said, like, I think Frodo left because he doesn't want us to chase. Did he say that? Did Aragorn know that that's why Frodo left? Or did he think it was actually a choice? Like Frodo was running from all the chaos, we should go after him. That's what I'm wondering. Did he really know? Because if he knew exactly what Frodo was doing and why, then he would say, oh, go do your thing. You have to be alone? Okay, go. But did he know it? That's what I was not sure about. That's why, in my mind, Aragorn felt like he had more of a choice. Because he didn't know that Frodo wanted to be by himself. But did he guess it? I'm not sure. Yeah, Merry and Pippin were taken against their will. And true, if they didn't go after them, it would have been bad. And the other bonus thing is that I don't know how aware Aragorn was, but if Merry and Pippin were assumed to be the hobbits with the ring, the longer they can prevent Saruman from getting them or falling into any enemy hands, the better it is. So by saving Merry and Pippin, you're also keeping Saruman and Sauron, out of the loop. But if Merry and Pippin made it to Saruman, then how would that have impacted the moves of evil? Would Saruman have said, oh, wow, okay, these aren't the hobbits with the ring. That means they're still out there somewhere. They were with the Fellowship at this point. Where did they split? Where did they go? It might have given more information. So it was a good strategic move. But then I also end up wondering, well, would it have made a difference? If Legolas and Gimli and Aragorn weren't chasing them, they still would have been attacked by the people of Rohan. And Éomer still would have won that battle, against the Uruk-hai. So it didn't have the biggest impact, but then it kind of was part of their story to bring them into Rohan anyway. So, yeah, Legolas and Gimli, the best. He didn't know it in the moment, you say, Ower, but he realized it later. I think that could be true. So in the moment, he wasn't sure, did Frodo leave on purpose, but later, okay. And again, this is where a second read is going to be so great because I've formed better opinions about the characters. So then I kind of see where they came from, how the decisions were made, what they knew and didn't know at different times in the story. Nice. See such companions, for Legolas was fair of face beyond the measure of men, and he sang an elven song in a clear voice as he walked in the morning. But Gimli stalked beside him, stroking his beard and staring about him. Wow, that is great. I wish we got that song. And is Legolas doing this just because he enjoys singing, or is he... I picture kind of just musicians who just hum and whistle all the time. My brother's like that, always whistling. Or is it more of he's trying to cheer up the city a little bit? Probably a dark place, rubble, some death, and bring a little bit of somber hope to a place that has some mourning. Because I think I'm excited to read and I'm in a good mood, of course. So this feels like, oh yeah, the friends are back together. But they are walking through a broken city at this point in many, many ways. And maybe they're feeling hope with the return of the king and they're hearing these rumors, but no two ways about it. There was death and destruction all around this place. Maybe in contrast, there is a sigh of relief in the morning because the battle is over and there is victory. But I still think there would be some. It would be a heavy mood in this city. So maybe Legolas giving some gentle song to lift some spirits would be a good thing. And Gimli says there is some good stonework here, he said as he looked at the walls, but also some that is less good, and the streets could be better contrived. When Aragorn comes into his own, I shall offer him the service of the stone rights of the mountain, and we will make this a town to be proud of. That is so good. And then Legolas immediately, they need more gardens, said Legolas. The houses are dead, and there is too little that grows and is glad. If Aragorn comes into his own, the people of his wood shall bring him birds that sing and trees that do not die. Wow, they're literally like the planning committee already. City planning right here. And it's funny that the city is epic, big stone city, awesome. And then Gimli's also just like, yeah, but it's not that good. I've seen better. Dwarves do it better. So that is very funny. And honestly, great touch. Improving the stonework, great infrastructure, and then adding life, trees and birds. If there were trees, I think many of them would have been destroyed by the fire of last night. And the birds probably would have gotten out of there too. So maybe not the best day to be assessing the quality of life in a city here. But I like that they're thinking in those terms. If Aragorn takes over, we're going to put in a good word. We're going to help him out. We're going to build this city up. At length, they came. Oh, comments. Yeah, I'm gonna keep reading. Yes. Yeah, honestly, they needed to be in the forest meeting Gandalf. That was a huge part of like the fate where they ended up. I'm trying to think what would have even happened if they did go the route of following Frodo and Sam. It would have been a mistake. How long would that have lasted? Could they actually have found them? Or would it be really hard to track over the rocks and things? That'd be interesting. But yeah, fate had other things in mind. Ooh, QWERTY. Let me go read that again. You say, Gimli says when, Legolas says if. I didn't even notice that distinction. I thought they both were saying if. When Aragorn comes into his own. Great catch. If. Oh, wow. That's big. And I don't think that's a bad thing either. It could just be that Legolas is a little more of a realist. And Gimli's a little more hopeful and optimistic. Interesting. I'm curious what it is about them that had that distinction, but I love that you pointed that out. Thank you. And Orlando Bloom, yeah, a pretty serious Legolas. And Legolas as a character goes back and forth. Even this line to me, or this couple of paragraphs, is changing how I view him, singing and making comments, and the times where he wants to go back to the forest with the Hurons, things like that. It feels like he's sometimes just like in his own world, like kind of doing his own thing and like thinking about birds. And then even the way I view elves, where they don't dream really and memories are all perfect, so they can just spend time reliving their own memories. And I'm just kind of like, my headcanon about elves is shifting in a weird way. I'm almost viewing them as some kind of low level high all the time in some weird way. Maybe that sounds too harsh, but either way, the Orlando Bloom portrayal feels very stern and serious and not joking, not light. Sometimes light, but not as the way I'm reading it. So I loved Legolas as a character. Watching the movies, I had a giant Legolas poster on the back of my door. Giant, like 5 feet tall. So big fan. My passwords in childhood used to all be based around Legolas and Orlando Bloom or archery because of these movies. So it is funny that now I'm saying, oh, I don't know if he played it right, because obviously he played it enough that everyone loved him. He didn't even have that much screen time, but when he was on there, packs a punch. But I feel like now my view of how he could have played it has shifted. But hey, first roll out of acting school, not bad. Yeah. You hated him? PR, you hated him. What did Sylvia say? Yeah, they would have a hard time following. Oh, and you're right. If they were following the guilt, knowing that Merry and Pippin were being tormented, killed, whatever, that would be crazy. And yeah, comparing Legolas and Gimli, book to movie, the both of them have improved in the book compared to movie, but Gimli I think improved the most. He is the perfect balance of playful and fun, but serious when he needs to be, loyal as anything, and he's deeper than I thought. It's just great. Yeah. So let's see. Hated him and hated the movies. Oh, I forgot. You hated the movies in general. All right. At length they came to the Prince Emerhill, and Legolas looked at him and bowed low, respectful. For he saw that here indeed was one who had elven blood in his veins. Right. Hail, Lord, he said. It is long since the people of Nimrodel left the woodland of Lorien, and yet still one may see that not all sailed from Amroth's haven west over the water. Wow, he picks up on this right away. So it is said in the lore of my land, said the prince, yet never has one of the fair folk been seen there for years beyond count. And I marvel to see one here now in the midst of sorrow and war. What do you seek? I am one of the 9 companions who set out with Mithrandir from Imladris, said Legolas, and with this dwarf my friend, I came with the Lord Aragorn. But now we wish to see our friends, Meriadoc and Peregrine, who are in your keeping, we are told. You will find them in the houses of healing, and I will lead you thither, said Imrahil. Yeah, kind of confirming the rarity of seeing elves in general, and he is surprised to see him here. I wonder if it was like a relief to people, or if that added weight to everything that's going on. Like, whoa, these are weird times. We've seen hobbits and dwarves and elves. This dwarf, my friend. Love that. Ah, yes, the former king of Lorien. So we're putting some of those pieces together. It will be enough if you send one to guide us, Lord, said Legolas, for Aragorn sends this message to you. He does not wish to enter the city again at this time, yet there is need for the captains to hold council at once, and he prays that you and Eomer of Rohan will come down to his tents as soon as it may be. Mithrandir is already there. We will come, said Imrahil, and they parted with courteous words. Yeah, fair point. He's just saying go on down there. But it also feels funny. Aragorn's being respectful, of course, saying, I'm not going to go into the city. This is your place, I'm going to stay out here. We'll resolve things. But then also feels like he's summoning him down there. And I guess you got to meet somewhere. But does that mean the debate that in the movies was up in the Citadel is going to actually be down in Aragorn's tent outside the city? Unexpected. Very humble. Feels like the opposite of what we saw in some ways. Yeah. Brave, wise, humble. Anna, welcome. Yeah, Aragorn, definitely the GOAT. They parted with courteous words. That is a fair lord and a great captain of men, said Legolas. If Gondor has such men still in these days of fading, great must have been its glory in the days of its rising. Wow. Very big words from Legolas. A great captain of men. He soaked in a lot pretty quickly. But he's great at reading people. It's a kind of an elf thing, right? And doubtless the good stonework is the older and was wrought in the first building, said Gimli. It is ever so with the things that men begin. There is a frost in spring or a blight in summer, and they fail of their promise. Ooh. Yeah, hating on men a little bit. And, fair point. What does Legolas say? Yet seldom do they fail of their seed, said Legolas, and that will lie in the dust and rot to spring up again in times and places unlooked for. The deeds of men will outlast us, Gimli. Oh, a little back and forth here, and yet come to naught in the end, but might have beens, I guess, said the dwarf. To that the elves know not the answer, said Legolas. I have to think about that. interesting assessment of men. Really good at starting things, maybe not always so good at finishing things, but they spring up again in times and places unlooked for. Yeah, it's weird that there's this hope and faith in men sometimes, but then a lack of faith sometimes. With that, the servant of the prince came and led them to the houses of healing, and there they found their friends in the garden, and their meeting was a merry one. For a while they walked and talked, rejoicing for a brief space in peace and rest under the morning, high up in the windy circles of the city. Then, when Mary became weary, they went and sat upon the wall, with the greensward of the houses of healing behind them. And away southward before them was the Anduin, glittering in the sun as it flowed away out of the sight of even Legolas into the wide flats and green haze of Lebanon and South Ithilien. And now Legolas fell silent, while the others talked, and he looked out against the sun. And as he gazed, he saw white seabirds beating up the river. "Look," he cried, "gulls! They are flying far inland. A wonder they are to me, and a trouble to my heart. Never in all my life had I met them until we came to Pelargir. Oh, time to pull up the map. So I assume he means when they went around, because they were south of the mountains after they got the people under the mountain, and they were coming around. They would have been close to the coast and then back up. So he's from a lot farther inland. So he's from far up north. And so down here, do we have that town? Oh, Dol Amroth is a coastal town? Kind of forgot that. Oh, but now I can't see your chats and all your knowledge, guys. What was the name of this place that he mentioned? Pelargir. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. But I was thinking when they came around, they'd be following this road and then coming up back to Minas Tirith. So when they're over here, they would have been closer to possibly get a little bit of seabirds. Unless that's a place that he has traveled to up north, northwest. But it seems funny, like he's been around so long. I would think he would know or have seen every creature. All right, I got to go back to my chat here so I can see. BG1, BG2. I don't even know what these things are. Serious gamers. Whoa. Oh yeah, Anna, sorry. I think you caught up where we are now. Yeah, exactly. Yes, indeed. So brave. Oh, red dot near the delta of the Anduin. Let's see. Oh, thank you. Yes. Okay. And that's where he got on the ships. Aragorn, along with Legolas and Gimli, they captured the ships of the men coming from the south and then rode up Anduin. Okay, good. So now, with that context, we can go back. Ooh, Old City existed before Gondor was founded. I want to go explore that city. Never in all my life had I met them until we came to Pelargir, and there I heard them crying in the air as we rode to the battle of the ships. Then I stood still, forgetting war in Middle-earth, for their wailing voices spoke to me of the sea. The sea, alas, I have not yet beheld it, but deep in the hearts of all my kindred lies the sea longing, which it is perilous to stir. Ooh, alas, for the gulls. No peace shall I have again under beech or under elm. Say not so, said Gimli, and say not so, says Danny. There are countless things still to see. Oh my goodness. Middle-earth and great works to do. But if all the fair folk take to the havens, it will be a duller world for those who are doomed to stay. Very nice words from Gimli. Interesting. And again, just the elf lore is kind of filling in my brain a little. I'm going to move this. Sorry, Aragorn. I need to be able to see the map more readily. Longing for the elven home. Yep. It's weird that he's saying deep in the hearts of all elves, there is a sea longing, perilous to stir. It's like this feeling you know is there, but you can't let yourself think that way, or you'll get locked into it. It'll make you do crazy things, so you have to suppress it. So maybe on some level there's this suppression of this emotion, but they know is there, and at some point in their lives they say, we must go. So maybe that's why he didn't go to the sea. He was purposefully trying to avoid it, stay far inland because he's afraid it will call to him. He's like Moana of Middle-earth, you know? Looking for that horizon. I won't start singing any Moana songs, though they're pretty great. But the sea, it calls him. And I think that we should have AI do a Moana Legolas remix. Very interesting. And I love that Gimli immediately... Well, I forgot. I also just kind of skipped over that how great it is to have these boys back together, walking around. Merry needs to relax a little, so they take a little break. Oh, it's so good. And while we're doing this, let me just peek ahead so I don't accidentally turn this into a 4-hour stream. All right, good. I can take my time a little bit. It's not too long of a chapter, but... Okay. A duller world for those who are doomed to stay. Merry chimes in, says the same. Dull and dreary indeed, said Merry. You must not go to the havens, Legolas. There will always be some folk, big or little, and even a few wise dwarves like Gimli who need you. At least I hope so, though I feel somehow that the worst of this war is still to come. How I wish it was all over and well over. Don't be so gloomy, cried Pippin. Yeah, nice. The sun is shining, and here we are together for a day or two at least. I want to hear more about you all. Come, Gimli. You and Legolas have mentioned your strange journey with Strider about a dozen times already this morning, but you haven't told me anything about it. And I'm just thinking again of the sea calling to him, to Legolas, that even the birds that he's never seen before, I guess he's never been that close to the sea, the birds call for the sea, they remind him of the sea, and it's stirring that up. Ooh, yikes. Whoa, cool. Gandalf brings messages, Galadriel, to Legolas, warning him about the call of the gulls. So cool. Wow, that's cool. Because that's, I guess does he remember it? I'm wondering if it's going to reference that, because that's kind of a deep cut. To just kind of say, hey, what did she say about it? Just don't fall into it. Don't get distracted. You know, you still are needed on Middle-earth. Don't go following that call too much. Never have peace under the beech or the elm. Oh my goodness. That it already has been stirred up then, because it says he's never going to be at peace the way he was. Something shifted in him right now. Ouch. Yeah. The Fellowship being great fellows. I can read it. It's a good point. When Gandalf came back. Wait, came back from where? When did he get... He already saw... So that would be... Galadriel told me that he was in peril. Am I in the right chapter? The White Rider? Wait, is this when he? Oh, it is the White Rider. So let me see what messages. I'm thinking I probably wrote something in the margins, but I'm not sure if I did. So I'm just saying. Because wasn't it kind of at the end where he says, "Oh, I forgot. I have messages for you." Oh, here we go. Wow. Glad we went back. To Legolas, she sent this word. Yeah, and I also didn't notice that it was. They're in italics. These are like, and you mentioned the one to Aragorn, also quite relevant. Well, then we'll start with that one. To Aragorn, I was bidden to say this: Where now are the Dunedain, Elisar, Elisar? Why do thy kinfolk wander afar? Near is thy hour when the lost should come forth, and the grey company ride from the north. But dark is the path appointed for thee. The dead watch the road that leads to the sea. Wow, she knows her stuff. So this is telling him basically the dead capitalized, the dark path, the dark road, and the Grey Company. Wait, Grey Company meaning the other Rangers? Are they the ones who like came? So she's literally saying the Rangers are going to come down. They're going to help you. You're going to go get the dead. The road to the sea. Perfect. And on Road to the Sea, we get word to Legolas. Legolas Greenleaf, long under tree. Beech and elm, I suppose. In joy thou hast lived. Beware of the sea. If thou hearest the cry of the gull on the shore, thy heart shall then rest in the forest no more. Ugh. I wrote in the margin then, is she telling him he will go to the Undying Lands? Question mark. Wow. So the weird part is she's saying, yeah, epic foreshadowing. Beware of the sea. Beware how? He could he have done anything differently? Or did he do exactly what he needed to do? He's following Aragorn. Was he supposed to beware and not go that way? I don't think so. I think maybe it's for this exact moment that we're reading, where be aware. He heard the cry. He said in that city. What was the name of that city? Starts with a P. When he was down there by the ships, he heard it in Pelargir for the first time. And she says, if thou hearest the cry of the gull on the shore, you rest in the forest no more. And of course, elves have perfect memory, right? I'm not making that up. So he knows exactly that she said this. And if he believes what she says, then he already knows my heart will rest in the forest no more. And that's why he was so confident to say that. No peace shall I have again under beech or under elm. And he knows that because he's not making that up. He's just saying what Galadriel already told him. And maybe deep down he already knew. So, wow, that's fascinating. Thanks for bringing me back there, guys. But now I'm just so curious. Should he have done something differently? Was there anything he could have done to say, no, I can't go that way. I can't be near the shore, or I won't be able to stay here? Or, like Snow is saying, a sacrifice he made for Aragorn. So Legolas knows, we're going to the other side of the mountains. The sea is down there. If I go with Aragorn, I may never be content at home again, meaning I am starting my journey away from Middle-earth. He could not have done differently, PR says. Yeah, maybe he needed to follow Aragorn. It is what it is, but maybe Galadriel knew he would have confusing feelings in this moment, so she wanted to give him this wisdom. In joy thou hast lived. Beware of the sea. And he's hearing the cry of the gull again, knowing that he won't rest in the forest anymore. Oh, that's so sad. But I'm going to ignore that thing. Oh, It reconnected. How we doing? I think we're back. Okay, yes. The alternative was to fade in Middle Earth. Yeah, that doesn't sound good either. We are so back. Good. All right, thanks, guys. Scary moment there. That's never happened. And John's the tech guy. I can't solve these problems. That was a close one. I feel like John taught me how to do these things and set me up to do them, but I have limited knowledge about how to keep it going. I'm learning. Also, which reminds me that when I was telling the story of the history of the podcast, etc., yesterday, I kind of dropped off at the point where Harry Potter was turning into Lord of the Rings. So let me just quickly aside. Then Lord of the Rings was next, a natural next step. There were many times within Harry Potter that people would say, "Oh, do Lord of the Rings next," and we already wanted to, and we already loved the movies. So it was an easy thing to say, yeah, we'll do Lord of the Rings next. And that's where many of you fine folk have joined in. And then that's when Jen and I, we were kind of getting married and then honeymoon, and it was like finishing up the 7th Harry Potter book. And then we did a Harry Potter trip. We went out to England and Warner Brothers Studio, and then Scotland, and go to filming locations, and more importantly, the book locations, as much as we loved the movies. And then after that, it felt like a good conclusion in a lot of ways. So we started Lord of the Rings, and then that's when John said, "You know what? This is a blast. I'm going to put out videos every day, really go for it." And so then we can't be the ones holding back. John is running free and enjoying and making all these things. So rather than having it be podcast focused like Harry Potter was, he said, YouTube is interactive. Look at this crew of people that are just trying to soak all these great things in. He said, I just want to do this like full time, basically. So we said, wow, that's awesome. We are now in full support mode. Whatever you need, we're here to support, but don't wait for us. We can record like we did for the pod, but YouTube is now the main thing. And so for a while, after having Calvin, our son, we said, well, all right, I'll have a little time off work. Maybe I can read more, but let's see how we settle in. And John continued reading a few more chapters, etc. And then we settled in, and I said, all right, we're ready to go. But rather than going back to the old podcast format, although we might do that at some point, it's more of switching to this view. It's more flexible. So I'll read and record. He'll read and record. Obviously, he's the driving force, but I'm just here to get involved in all this fun because it's so great. So I think that could shift over the years. I say years because this is long term. We're in this thing. And we've already been doing it for years, actually. From the start of Harry Potter, that was 3 years ago, maybe even 4 by now. So for years, we've been keeping this rhythm up. And that's how I know it's not just a fad, not just a phase. And it started just as something we wanted to do for fun. It had nothing to do with getting involved with people all around the world who are willing to come onto live streams and talk with us and read with us and help us through this journey. It was just about being on the journey with each other, our own little fellowship. And then early in Harry Potter, there's a line where they say we defeated a fully grown mountain troll together. You know, it kind of bonds them as friends. And then that became our little mantra, like because the books were our mountain troll. So it bonded us. And then we say, all right, we're going to keep on doing this. And then here we are. So Lord of the Rings will continue in many ways, and maybe some other books get mixed in there. But yeah, I think that catches us up to today. Quick aside. All right, now back to Legolas. Okay. Yeah. Computers respect strength. I got to show my strength to this computer. Tell it not to mess around. I'm in charge. Best books ever written. You know what? I think you're right. Which in some ways is kind of sad because, Nemo, right? Like, I don't know. Like, has it been 4 years? That might be a bit long. But what I do know is I'm married with a son who's multiple months old, and Jen and I were just friends back then. And before we ever started reading Harry Potter in our mini book club, we had the bigger book club. That was 2 years before that. But those were just like random little books. And our joke was always that John picks really depressing books because he likes these like intense kind of, dramatic's the wrong word, but just like really emotional, like, like they leave you. And he picked some epic ones. But those are just one-off books, and we would power through them. And we would meet once a week, book club, the whole thing. It was great. So now this kind of slower pace, chapter by chapter, soaking in every word. But if you're right, and these are the greatest books ever written, then what's after this? We're leaving the best here. Side note. I keep doing side notes because I might as well. I love it. I mentioned to John the other day that it would be fun to write a book. John's qualified. I'm certainly not. But I thought it'd be a fun idea to create a fantasy world and write a story. It seems so lofty and arrogant to say like Lord of the Rings, but kind of, maybe not the scale of all the books or whatever, but the scale of these books, meaning these 6 or this one, we can say. It would be fun to do that with a stream, like we get together and come up with the world and the story and work it out. Hey guys, what do you think? Does this make sense? Does this curveball? What kind of character arc? What kind of journey for this character? What makes sense? Co-writing a book together. Anyway, side note of some project that we might initiate in the future. Even if AI does kind of spoil everything for us and make it weird to do that. But I think regardless of that, creating full worlds like this will still be valued, and humans will be able to create stories in a way that AI cannot. I hold out that hope, but we'll see. Yeah, nice. Don't forget to like the stream. Yeah, practice indeed. I feel like for any good book, it would have to be writing it maybe 5 times over before it would ever be anything good. Ooh, yeah, Nemo, making languages. I would think we would have to. And human-made, I hope human-made is always better. Oh, another little side note, in case it hasn't come up as part of the history, Hot Tamales, that started because at the end of every podcast, so members are called Hot Tamales here, because at the end of the podcast with Harry Potter, we would say favorite moment in the chapter, favorite character in the chapter, and then at some point, Jen just came up with hot tamale as being like, oh, she's a hot tamale. I think it was Ginny Weasley was the first one. She's just spicy, She just has the right kind of sass that you need in some moments. So we started giving a hot tamale award at the end of every episode of the podcast because sometimes they might not be your favorite character, maybe not your favorite moment, but there's just something, some je ne sais quoi, where you want to give them a little bit of an honorary mention because they were just so sassy or perfect in a given moment. Usually there's a hint of romance spice in there, or something just sassy that can't be captured in any other words. So they are the hot tamales, and that's why our members are hot tamales, because you guys are sassy and wonderful. Okay, back to Middle-earth. Don't be so gloomy, cried Pippin. The sun is shining, and here we are together for a day or 2 at least. I want to hear more about you all. Come, Gimli. I already went through that. The sun may shine here, said Gimli, but there are memories of that road that I do not wish to recall out of the darkness. Had I known what was before me, I think that not for any friendship would I have taken the paths of the dead. Wow. He's an honest man, Honest dwarf. If he had known, he doesn't think the friendship would have been enough. And I'm thinking back to his words of to Elrond. He was having that sassy back and forth and whatever, and Elrond's like, you're here willingly. You can always leave if you got to, and whatever. And he's like, I would never. I've given my word. But even here, he's kind of admitting like they have faced things that he never imagined facing. And if he had known, he might not have had the strength to do it. The paths of the dead, said Pippin. I heard Aragorn say that, and I wondered what he could mean. Won't you tell us some more? Not willingly, said Gimli, for upon that road I was put to shame. Gimli, Glóin's son, who had deemed himself more tough than men and hardier under the earth than any elf. But neither did I prove, and I was held to the road only by the will of Aragorn. Wow. Very humble. Gimli's so humble that even when he's expressing weakness, it comes off as strength somehow. And by the love of him also, said Legolas, for all those who come to know him come to love him, after his own fashion, even the cold maiden of the Rohirrim. It was at early morn of the day ere you came there, Mary, that we left Dunharrow, and such a fear was on all the folk that none would look on our going, save the Lady Eowyn, who lies now hurt in the house below. There was grief at that parting, and I was grieved to behold it. This feels like a little Aragorn gossip, Does this need to be mentioned right now? I don't know if it does. Ooh, Elrond foreshadows Gimli's fear. That's interesting. I guess I wasn't even thinking that. Did Elrond, because again, I mentioned this in the last stream, does Gandalf see the future? Do elves see the future? Did Elrond see the future? Galadriel sure seemed to. Elrond, I think, is at a similar level, right? So I think I have to go back and check. I think we gotta go, right? So this is after the council, either the very end of that or the ring goes south. All right, ring goes south. Oh, I have to make sure I don't accidentally hit my keyboard. That could be causing an issue. Wow, I took a lot of notes in these margins. Oh, here we go. I wrote in the margin. It's a rap battle between Gimli and Elrond. Faithless is he that says farewell when the road darkens, said Gimli. Maybe, said Elrond, but let him not vow to walk in the dark who has not seen the nightfall. Wow, this is more poignant than I thought. Good call there. Good call. Yet sworn word may strengthen quaking heart or break it, said Elrond. Look not too far ahead, but go now with good hearts. Farewell, and may the blessing of elves and men and all free folk go with you. May the stars shine upon your faces. Good. Good luck, cried Bilbo, stuttering with the cold. I don't suppose you'll be able to keep a diary, Frodo, blah, blah, blah. Wow. So literally talking about the darkness. All right. So elves or royal Numenorians sometimes get hints of the future. And I know it's different with Galadriel. She has her little mirror. But this, interesting. I love that, with a little extra from Elrond. And I wonder if Gimli's going to mention that or if he thinks it. But Legolas is being encouraging too. It was for the love of Aragorn also. And then kind of goes into the whole thing and then mentions, speaking of loving Aragorn, Lady Eowyn, am I right? Alas, I had heart only for myself, said Gimli. Nay, I will not speak of that journey. He fell silent. But Pippin and Merry were so eager for news that at last Legolas said, I will tell you enough for your peace, for I felt not the horror, and I feared not the shadows of men, powerless and frail as I deemed them. Wow. Legolas is, he's brave or aloof or whatever. I don't know. He was like, it wasn't no big deal. Is that what he's saying? Swiftly, then, he told of the haunted road under the mountain, and the darkest tryst at Erech, and the great ride thence, 90 leagues and 3. I like a good distance, 90 leagues and 3. To Pelagur on Anduin. 4 days and nights, and on to the 5th we rode from the Black Stone, he said, and lo, in the darkness of Mordor my hope rose, for in that gloom the shadow host seemed to grow stronger and more terrible to look upon. Some I saw riding, some striding, yet all moving with the same great speed. Silent they were, but there was a gleam in their eyes. In the uplands of Lamendon they overtook our horses, and swept round us, and would have passed us by, if Aragorn had not forbidden them. At his command they fell back. Even the shades of men are obedient to his will, I thought. They may serve his needs yet. 1 day of light we rode, and then came the day without dawn, and still we rode on. And Cyril and Ringlo were crossed, and on the 3rd day we came to Linhir above the mouth of Gilrain. And there men of Lamendon contested the fords with fell folk of Umbar and Harad who had sailed up the river. Oh, those are Umbar and Harad are the men of the south. But defenders and foes alike gave up the battle and fled. Defenders and foes, and fled when we came, crying out that the king of the dead was upon them. Only Angbor, lord of Lamendon, had the heart to abide us, And Aragorn bade him gather his folk and come behind if they dared, when the grey host had passed. I'm curious if yeah, everyone is scared of the ghosts, and it makes sense. Um yeah, okay, Legolas seems to understand the dead on a level that makes them not scary anymore. Snow, you might be right. Yeah, it feels like he does have a certain understanding that goes beyond, well, clearly beyond regular men. Um, let's see if Lamondon is labeled on the map. You guys are better at finding these things than me anyway, but what we did here is Umbar, right? And Umbar is on the map. I can bring it over to the other screen here. Way down here, Haven of Umbar. And even City of the Corsairs. Like we heard the Corsairs, so I guess this is where they came from. They sailed up the coast. And Harad Road, I guess, because Harad Wraith, this is for the near Harad and all that. Okay, so the Men of South. And it feels like there's this whole world down here we don't even explore, and they're just considered evil. Oh, man. And can they be redeemed? They're men. They can be. I don't know. Maybe we'll learn more about them. There's many more stories to come. But I don't actually see if that is on this map. At least not to my... Ooh, Elfhaven. Interesting. I want to hear more about that. Okay. I was curious because we know that some races or things can see hints of the future. The Palantir, there were 7. Where are they? Are there other things like a Mirror of Galadriel? I'm saying this because I'm wondering if these men of the South also have predictions of the future, prophecies, little rhymes that would ring true. And it would be interesting to me if they grew up with a nursery rhyme of people of the dead, or of a crazy meeting at this city on Anduin where the dead meet the people of the living and no one is spared. You know, like it would be interesting if there was some kind of prophecy that actually fed into their fear of this moment, because they ran pretty quick. It felt like there was more to this, but also if you see an Army of the Dead, you probably would just run, right? Right. So anyway, curious if we're going to get more out of there. Yeah. Functionally immortal, but they can be unbodied. Lots of talk of mortality and immortality. Does the Balrog count? I don't know. Aragorn bade him gather his folk and come behind if they dared. At Peligare, the host of Isildur will have need of you, he said. Thus we crossed over Gilrain, driving the allies of Mordor en route before us, and then we rested a while. But Aragorn arose, saying, Lo, already Minas Tirith is assailed. I fear that it will fall ere we come to its aid. So we mounted again before night had passed, and went on with all the speed that our horses could endure over the plains of Lebanon. Legolas paused and sighed, and turning his eyes southward, he softly sang. He's got songs for every occasion. I wonder if this is what he was singing when he was walking up the city streets. Silver flow the streams from Selos to Erui, in the green fields of Lebanon. Tall grows the grass there, in the wind from the sea, the white lilies sway. And the golden bells are shaken of Malos and Alfirin, in the fields of Lebanon, in the wind from the sea. And again, when it's talking about the sea and wind from the sea, he must have been scared to even utter these words, because when he does, it might stir up sea thoughts. Green are those fields in the songs of my people, but they were dark then, gray wastes in the blackness before us, and over the wide land, trampling unheeded, the grass and the flowers. We hunted our foes through a day and a night until we came to the bitter end, to the great river at last. Then I thought in my heart that we drew near to the sea. For wide was the water in the darkness, and seabirds innumerable cried on its shores. Alas for the wailing of the gulls! Did not the lady tell me? to beware of them, and now I cannot forget them. He remembers, of course. But what does beware even mean? And now I cannot forget them. For my part, I heeded them not, said Gimli. For we came then at last upon battle in earnest. There at Peligre lay the main fleet of Umbar, 50 great ships and smaller vessels beyond count. Many of those we had pursued and reached the haven before us. Ah, yes. I want to zoom even more. Fields of Lebanon are kind of between two rivers that are flowing down from the mountains, and then Anduin, so Peligre is out on a point. Okay. And brought their fear with them. And some of the ships had put off, seeking to escape down the river or to reach the far shore. And many of the smaller craft were ablaze. But the Haradrim, being now driven to the brink, turned at bay, and they were fierce in despair. And they laughed when they looked on us, for they were a great army still. But Aragorn halted and cried with a great voice, "Now come. By the black stone I call you." And suddenly the shadow host that had hung back at the last came up like a gray tide, sweeping all away before it. Faint cries I heard, and dim horns blowing, and a murmur of the countless far voices. It was like the echo of some forgotten battle in the dark years long ago. Pale swords were drawn, but I know not whether their blades would still bite, for the dead needed no longer any weapon but fear. None would withstand them. To every ship they came that was drawn up, and then they passed over the water to those that were anchored. And all the mariners were filled with a madness of terror and leapt overboard, save the slaves chained to the oars. Reckless we rowed among our fleeing foes, driving them like leaves until we came to the shore. And then to each of the great ships that remained, Aragorn sent one of the Dunedain, and they comforted the captives that were aboard, and bade them put aside fear and be free. Whoa, cool. Ere that dark day ended, none of the enemy were left to resist us. All were drowned or were flying south in the hope to find their own lands upon foot. Well, at least some survived to go tell this story to the rest of their people. And I don't know how often the Southerners come this far north, but I'm curious how this story landed on the ears of their people in the South. And if they said, you know what, maybe let's just never go north again. Sounds like a land we don't want to mess with. And even Mordor, it's just north of us, but let's just not mess with them. And I don't know who worked out the deal with them. What of Sauron's messengers went over there? Was it orcs? Who else is down there? But either way, I feel like this kind of story is enough to become legend and say, we're just gonna not mess with Gondor or anything up there again, because for them, maybe this was their last straw, and they're saying, cool, we haven't been up there in forever, and now people just die by the craziest things we've ever imagined. Yeah, I gotta read on. Oh, what, are they gonna say this right now? Ooh, yeah, all right, good reminder. A Limitation of Perspective, read book written by and for hobbits, so they don't know much about Harad, but maybe if this was written from another perspective, it would be a little bit different. We'd hear more about them because maybe the people of Gondor do interact with them more than we realized, or, yeah. Okay, All right, so, overthrown by such wraiths of fear and darkness, with its own weapons was it worsted. Strange indeed, said Legolas. Oh, also the Dunedain freeing all of these captives, and then I guess that's how they were able to sail these boats north, because they would be like, hey, you're free, but you know, we kind of could use your help. And I know you're free, but how about you take us up to a battle, huh? Or maybe they say, can you just take us up to battle and drop us off up there? And then after you drop us off, just you can go. And then maybe the slaves are like, well, former slaves at this point, they say, well, how about you all just get on one ship and then, a couple of us will take you up north and the rest of us will just sail off. And they're like, nah, we kind of want it to be all the ships so it looks impressive from the water and can mess with people on the battlefield. And then I guess they said, well, you know what? You did set us free. So fine, we'll do it. Or maybe they just didn't want to be away from Aragorn because they could tell Aragorn controlled all these scary as anything people of the dead. So they're like, you know what? Let's just stay right next to him for as long as possible till there is no dead person in sight. Okay. Strange indeed, said Legolas. In that hour I looked on Aragorn and thought how great and terrible a lord he might have become in the strength of his will. Had he taken the ring to himself? I was going to say great and terrible. The same two words I think used to describe, was it maybe Galadriel or someone else said those same words about taking the ring. Not for naught does Mordor fear him. Wow. But nobler in his spirit than the understanding of Sauron, for he is not of the children of Luthien. Never shall that line fail, though the years may lengthen beyond count. Beyond the eyes of dwarves are such foretellings, said Gimli, but mighty indeed was Aragorn that day. Lo, all the black fleet was in his hands, and he chose the greatest ship. Oh yeah, this is why I got a Raffo, guys, because we're getting the scoop right now. New captives would be Gondorians. They would be inclined because they might actually want to go back to Gondor. Oh, slaves from Gondor. Didn't even think about that. Wow. And they might do trade with Gondorians. Interesting. Okay. He chose the greatest ship to be his own, and he went up into it. Then he let sound a great concourse of trumpets taken from the enemy, and the shadow host withdrew to the shore. There they stood silent, hardly to be seen, save for a red gleam in their eyes that caught the glare of the ships that were burning. And Aragorn spoke in a loud voice to the dead men, crying, ooh, big moment, setting them free. Again, maybe should have negotiated a little farther for their help. Sylvia, you're saying what I was kind of thinking. The dwarves travel far, so they might not live in the south. I was wondering, where is the nearest dwarf settlement to here? This feels very far, but do the dwarves sail? Are they anywhere near the coast where they could come down and do some trading and go back up? Or are there dwarf settlements off to the east I don't even know about? Hear now the words of the heir of Isildur. Your oath is fulfilled. Go back and trouble not the valleys ever again. Depart and be at rest. And thereupon the king of the dead stood out before the host, and broke his spear, no more violence, and cast it down. Then he bowed low, such respect, and turned away. And swiftly the whole grey host drew on and vanished like a mist that is driven back by a sudden wind. And it seemed to me that I awoke from a dream. Oh, I love that. I love that idea of like, either it was so bizarre to witness that you're like, this can't be real, or was there actually something going on? Whatever the magic that created and stirred up fear in some of the men they were attacking might have been palpable, even to the good guys, where when they disappeared, whatever this magic was about maybe faded away with them and you kind of sober up a little bit. That night we rested while others labored, for there were many captives set free and many slaves released. Ah, folks of Gondor. That's how you all know this is the folks of Gondor. Taken in raids. Wow. So they're not doing a lot of trading. They're coming up and doing raids, capturing people, bringing them back as slaves. That's bad. Yep. And soon also there was a great gathering of men out of Lebanon. That's what you're saying. Okay. And Ether and Angbor of Lamadon came up with the horsemen that he could muster. Now that the fear of the dead was removed, they came to aid us and to look on the heir of Isildur, for the rumor of that name had run like fire in the dark. They are spreading that. So it feels like these people of the South maybe have a little more faith in Isildur. I got the vibe in the past couple chapters that in Minas Tirith, at least from we're getting maybe more of the steward perspective, they're a little dismissive of like, there's not Isildur. I mean, come on, like that's long faded away. This isn't real. But here they seem pretty willing to be like, oh, a dude's here and he's kind of claiming to be the heir and he's doing kingly things. So yeah, I love that some of these people in South Gondor are coming up to aid. And that is near the end of our tale. For during that evening and night, many ships were made ready and manned. And there it is, the answer to my silly musings. They had extra help. That's why it wasn't just a couple dudes on a ship. It's a big old crew. Oh, Pelargir is one of Gondor's core cities. I did not fully imagine that. And PR, great reminder. Dwarves do not sail. They hate the sea. So, yeah, interesting then. How would dwarves ever trade with the people of the south? Like, they would have they go out to the east of Mordor and down and around? I mean, maybe. It feels like, Minas Tirith is pretty close to Mordor, and up until now, they've been relatively chill. So maybe there is equal chillness on the east side. We just don't know about it. And like someone pointed out, this book is from a Hobbit perspective, the Red Book. So the dwarves could have a totally different perspective, and maybe they know many routes that go that way. They're not relevant to this story, possibly. The Sea of Rune, don't know much about that, but I do see little hills. Maybe dwarves would hang in those hills. So yeah, just kind of curious if dwarves would ever go down there for trade. But I don't see any mountains that far south. But I have a feeling we're going to learn a little more about this in future stories. And in the morning, the fleet set forth. Long past it now seems, yet it was but the morn of the day ere yesterday, the 6th since we rode from Dunharrow. But still Aragorn was driven by fear that time was too short. It is 40 leagues and 2 from Pelargir to the landing at Harland, he said. Yet to the Harland we must come tomorrow or fail utterly. The oars were now wielded by free men, and manfully they labored, yet slowly we passed up the great river. Exactly, for we strove against the stream. And though that is not swift down in the south, we had no help from the wind. Heavy would my heart have been for all our victory at the havens if Legolas had not laughed suddenly. So he's saying back then, in the moment on the ships, Legolas laughed suddenly. Up with your beard, Durin's son, he said, for thus is it spoken. Oft hope is born when all is forlorn. I like that line. Yeah, it seems good. But what hope he saw from afar, he would not tell. Yeah. Oh, so Legolas is saying he laughs because he actually witnessed something. Wait, what would that have been? So this is when they're sailing. They set forth in the morning. It's during the day. Aragorn wants to get there by the next morning, and night is coming. So I'm trying to think what would have been happening in the battle, what Legolas might have seen that shifted things. Could that have been, I'm trying to think, Rohan's arrival, or yeah, I'm curious. When night came, it did but deepen the darkness, and our hearts were hot. For away in the north we saw a red glow under the cloud, and Aragorn said, Minas Tirith is burning. Yeah, weird that a small paragraph starts with Legolas saying, hope is born when all is forlorn, and it ends with Minas Tirith is burning. But at midnight, hope was indeed born anew. Sea-crafty men of the Aether, gazing southward, spoke of a change coming. Change in the wind, with a fresh wind from the sea. Long ere day, the masted ships hoisted sail, and our speed grew until dawn whitened the foam at our prows. And so it was, as you know, that we came in the 3rd hour of the morning, with a fair wind and the sun unveiled, and we unfurled the great standard in battle. It was a great day and a great hour, whatever may come after. Follow what may, great deeds are not lessened in worth, said Legolas. Great deed was the riding of the paths of the dead, and great it shall remain, though none be left in Gondor to sing of it in the days that are to come. Ooh. And that may well befall, said Gimli, for the faces of Aragorn and Gandalf are grave. Much I wonder what counsels they are taking in the tents there below. For my part, like Merry, I wish that with our victory the war was now over. Yet, whatever is still to do, I hope to have a part in it, for the honor of the folk of the Lonely Mountain. And I, for the folk of the Great Wood, said Legolas, and for the love of the Lord of the White Tree. Ooh, Aragorn's already the Lord of the White Tree to him? That's great. Then the companions fell silent. But a while they sat there in the high place, each busy with his own thoughts, while the captains debated. Wow. 25,000 in the south. Okay. Wow, they're giving real numbers. So if we know a tenth came up and 3,000, okay. Where did they get potatoes? Yeah, can't potatoes grow? They had potatoes in Numenor? I guess, sure, why not? I feel like I said that at some point early in the books where like something came up and it just felt out of place. I forget what it was though, but sometimes the food stuff, it just feels so, and tea. Yeah, where do you get tea? Well, yeah, I guess like have we heard anything about tropical stuff? Tea feels a little tropical, but yeah, in the south, how much farther south until you get past the equator of Middle Earth, and then you start getting into the tropical lands? Because all of this land that we've seen so far feels north or south of the equator by quite a distance. I'm always imagining north because that's where I'm from, and it seems like many on the stream, although haven't forgotten about you, Hobart. So it feels like if they go south enough, and these southlands feel like they are nearing the equator, below, somewhere in there, shouldn't there be tropical lands? Or maybe it's just desert. But yeah, Middle Earth trade. I want to read the whole book on that. Yeah, exactly. What's the Middle Earth China equivalent where they're pro at the tea leaves? Oh, true. Because it gets icy if you go further north. That's why. You're right. Good clarification there. So that's why I'm thinking that way, because they say a cold north, and now they're traveling south and it warms up. So, yep, that means we can tell quite quickly how large Middle Earth is, and we never get to see so far. All right. So there's a little tiny space in the book here, and then it starts with Prince Emerhill. So maybe we're gonna get down to the actually see the debate. Nothing we've seen so far counts as the debate. Okay. When the Prince Emerhill had departed from Legolas and Gimli, at once he sent for Éomer. So I guess let's jump back in time a little. He went down with him from the city, and they came to the tents of Aragorn that were set up in the field not far from the place where King Theoden had fallen. And there they took counsel together with Gandalf, Aragorn, and the sons of Elrond. So, my prediction, I don't know if I predicted it exactly, but it was wrong, because I was mentioning how in the movies we're getting Legolas, Gimli, Aragorn, Gandalf. And I can't remember if the hobbits were there or, who else was in the Citadel. But it's actually a very different crew here. Legolas, Gimli, and the hobbits are hanging out, talking of the stories of battle, reminiscing a little bit. And much of the debate so far, of course, could change in 2 paragraphs. But for now, it feels like it's Elrond's sons who are, as far as I remember, non-existent in the movies. And they're playing a good role in this discussion, this debate. Prince Emerhill, I love that he requested Éomer to come with him. Aragorn, Gandalf. I like this crew because they all seem to have a great respect for Aragorn. And they seem like just a couple of great dudes. Faramir's not involved. I think I'm okay with it, though. My lords, said Gandalf, listen to the words of the steward of Gondor before he died. Oh, quoting Denethor here? You may triumph on the fields of the Pelennor for a day, but against the power that has now arisen there is no victory. I do not bid you despair, as he did, but to ponder the truth in these words. So he's saying the words are true, but it shouldn't be said with that much despair. The stones of seeing do not lie. The stones of seeing do not lie. Like the Palantir, they do not lie. Well, that's just throwing me off because I had the idea that you could deceive through the stones. So it's a weird way to say it. And not even the Lord of Barad-dûr can make them do so. He can maybe by his will choose what things shall be seen by weaker minds, or cause them to mistake the meaning of what they see. And that goes two ways, because he mistaked the meaning of seeing Pippin in there and assumed ring things. So that is a two-way street. Does that make Sauron a weaker mind to Pippin? Nonetheless, it cannot be doubted that when Denethor saw great forces arrayed against him in Mordor and more still being gathered, he saw that which truly is. Interesting. So you can a little bit deceive by showing things strategically, but the things shown are true in a Palantir. That's how I'm taking this. Sauron lied, not the Palantir. He deceived by showing him how hopeless it was, the army. So yeah, so whatever you see is a real thing, but it's about the context and what it means. Sauron set up a whole display of just mini army figures, and he used clever lighting to make it look like it was a whole army, but it wasn't. Hardly our strength sufficed to beat off the first great assault. The next will be greater. Ooh, the next. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. If they don't take any action, there would be another wave of fighting at Minas Tirith, and they know they can't handle that. This war is without final hope, as Denethor perceived. Victory cannot be achieved by arms, whether you sit here to endure siege after siege, or march out to be overwhelmed beyond the river. You have only a choice of evils, and prudence would counsel you to strengthen such strong places as you have, and there await the onset, for so shall the time before your end be made a little longer. I assume he's going to give them a little bit of hope here, because that he said not to be hopeless like Denethor. But he's also just saying, strengthen the strong places to delay your death. Then you would have us retreat to Minas Tirith or Dol Amroth or to Dun Harrow and there sit like children on sandcastles when the tide is flowing, said Emerhill. That would be no new counsel, said Gandalf. Have you not done this and little more in the days of Denethor? But no. I said this would be prudent. I do not counsel prudence. I said victory could not be achieved by arms. I still hope for victory, but not by arms. For into the midst of all these policies comes the Ring of Power, the foundation of Barad-dûr, and the hope of Sauron. Concerning this thing, yeah, wow, he's like speaking pretty blatantly about this. I'm trying to think if Emerhill knows the specifics yet, or is this news to him? No, I think he did know something. Through Denethor, did Gandalf mention? Interesting. Concerning this thing, my lords, you now know enough, you all know enough for the understanding of our plight, and of Sauron's. If he regains it, your valor is vain, and his victory will be swift and complete, so complete that none can foresee the end of it while this world lasts. If it is destroyed, then he will fall, and his fall will be so low that none can foresee his arising ever again. For he will lose the best part of the strength that was native to him in his beginning, and all that was made or begun with that power will crumble. And he will be maimed forever, becoming a mere spirit of malice that gnaws itself in the shadows, but cannot again grow or take shape. It is so a great evil of this world will be removed. Will be removed. Wow. I like that. It was comforting in some ways, and yet a little bit scary-ish. Just that he's not dead. He's just a spirit maimed forever. And it would make me feel better if he was gone. I'm just, again, maybe Harry Potter things, or I don't know, Voldemort in a spirit world comes back. Or we were talking about the Balrog going into being killed, put into another spirit realm, or even Gandalf goes into, kind of dies when fighting the Balrog, it seems, or whatever word you want to use in my lack of little knowledge about these things, and then comes back as Gandalf the White. So it feels like when people are killed to another realm in a spirit realm, on some level, they almost can come back. So it feels a little weird, but I'm going to trust Gandalf's words and say he will be removed if the ring is destroyed. Other evils there are that may come, for Sauron himself is but a servant or emissary. Yet it is not our part to master all the tides of this world, but to do what is in us for the succor of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till. What weather they shall have is not ours to rule. Good perspective, level-headedness from a very old being. Gandalf has perspective here. It almost feels like he just got above everyone for a second and was speaking of time coming and going, and wisdom all the same. But I feel like come back to earth here. Just tell us what we need to do. Now Sauron knows all this, and he knows that this precious thing which he lost has been found again, but he does not know yet where it is, or so we hope. And therefore he is now in great doubt, for if we have found this thing, there are some among us with strength enough to wield it. That too he knows. For do I not guess rightly, Aragorn, that you have shown yourself to him in the Stone of Orthanc? This is what someone said in the chat of in the movie, the showing, and how it, it doesn't mean anything, Eowyn says. Sylvia being called away. All right. Go in peace. Enjoy your time. And if you come back later, excellent. Ooh, wow, we're getting into some of the lore I don't know about. Oh, 8 gods, only one god. 8 gods, little g, 1 god, big G, and also an emissary of evil. I'm like, who's the big old evil? Who's the devil of this world? These are all things I don't know about yet, but I see people mention these things sometimes in the chat because you guys are lore masters. And I'm glad it doesn't get soaked into this story too much. It's kind of like what I don't like about, well, it's a bit of a rabbit trail again, but it's what I do. Like the Marvel movies, it's like, you can have one movie where you fight a bad guy and you punch him in the face a few times and then he goes to jail. And then the next movie, he's got to be a bigger, stronger bad guy. And he's so big, you can only capture him in a super jail. And after a few movies, you're fighting like gods, basically, or demigods battling. And then after a few more movies, you're fighting worlds and world-eating bad guys. And it becomes so chaotic because the evil has to grow so the stakes can get higher. And then you're almost like, what are we doing here? And then the next move, classic, seems to always happen. When you've exhausted all of those resources, you go to time travel, because why not? And then all of a sudden you travel in time because then everything you already did becomes meaningless on some level. I digress. The point is, sometimes it feels good to have such a tangible story. And then when it gets into spiritual realms, a hint of that is nice. But sometimes it feels like, wait, there's a bigger evil? There's more? There's a bigger good? And there's more there, and what does it all mean? And in 1,000 years, will this all be done again with more people? And you get to this higher level where then it's like, oh no, I want to wrap my mind around all of it, but I just can't. So I like that none of that has been revealed yet, and slowly revealing it, learning more in future stories about spiritual realm and gods and how Gandalf got back here is going to be cool. But Raffo, I will. Okay. So Aragorn, you showed him yourself in the Stone of Orthanc. I did so ere I rode from the Hornburg, answered Aragorn. I deemed that the time was ripe, and that the stone had come to me for just such a purpose. It was then 10 days since the ring-bearer went east from Rhoros. Wow, man, this all happened in such a short amount of time. And the eye of Sauron I thought should be drawn out from his own land. Too seldom has he been challenged since he returned to his tower. Though, if I had foreseen how swift would be his onset in answer, maybe I should not have dared to show myself. Bare time was given to me to come to your aid. But how is this? Asked Eomer. All is vain, you say, if he has the ring. Why should he think it not vain to assail us if we have it? He is not yet sure, said Gandalf, and he has not built up his power by waiting until his enemies are secure as we have done. Also, we could not learn how to wield the full power all in a day. Indeed, it can be used only by one master alone, not by many. And he will look for a time of strife, ere one of the great among us makes himself master and puts down the others. In that time, the ring might aid him, if he were sudden. Whoa. It is interesting that Sauron is assuming or worried that a man has taken the ring and will use it, someone on the good side, and maybe further confirms how wise it is that Gandalf did things the way he did, so that no man can take it. But it also further feeds the idea that men could literally, potentially, for a time, use the ring to legitimately fight back against Sauron. But then in the end, would they just become what Sauron was and their own evil version of him? We don't know. So, he is watching. He sees much and hears much. His Nazgul are still abroad. They passed over this field ere the sunrise, though few of the weary and sleeping were aware of them. He studies the signs. The sword that robbed him of his treasure remade, the winds of fortune turning in our favor, and the defeat unlooked for of his first assault. The fall of his great captain. Ooh, his great captain, yes. And defeat unlooked for. Like when men arrive, unlooked for. Perfect. His doubt will be growing, even as we speak here. His eye is now straining towards us, blind almost to all else that is moving. So we must keep it. Therein lies all our hope. This then is my counsel. We have not the ring. In wisdom or great folly. I like that he's even saying that. Like, he's not going to make it seem like it was all wisdom, because there was always that part of him. And I was like, should we have kept it? It has been sent away to be destroyed, lest it destroy us. Without it, we cannot by force defeat his force. Wow. So it feels like he's even saying again, with it, by force, we might have been able to defeat Sauron, but it would just delay an inevitable doom by some other means with the ring. Maybe. But we must at all costs keep his eye from his true peril. We cannot achieve victory by arms, but by arms we can give the ring-bearer his only chance, frail though it be. As Aragorn has begun, so we must go on. We must push Sauron to his last throw. We must call out his sudden strength, so that he shall empty his land. We must march out to meet him at once. We must make ourselves the bait. Though his jaws should close on us, he will take that bait, in hope and in greed, for he will think that in such rashness he sees the pride of the new ring lord. Ooh, that's another element not mentioned in the movies, where, at least I don't think so, he's saying if we go to the Black Gate, Sauron will assume the ring is there, because only someone with the ring would be that bold. Wow. All right, guys, I gotta Go blow my nose. One sec. Can't be picking my nose on the stream. Nice. So I think that's an interesting thing that wasn't mentioned, at least not clearly in the movies. That the distraction is not just Aragorn being there. The distraction is the potential for the ring to be at the Black Gate. And that is something too tempting for Sauron. He's like, oh, they're here? They must have the ring and be ready to attack, and we're going to do this. They think they know how to wield the ring? Well, let's fight it, duke it out, and, see what happens. And then if Aragorn is there, he will assume Aragorn is the one with the ring. Now it's Isildur's heir. There's fuel to that fire, plus potentially the ring. Okay, cool. I like this. But there hasn't been much debate yet. Let's see if debate happens. All right. We must push Sauron to his last throw. We must call out his hidden strength so he shall empty his land. March out to meet him. We are the debate. In hope and greed. He will say, so he pushes out his neck too soon and too far. Let him come on, and behold, I will have him in a trap from which he cannot escape. There I will crush him, and what he has taken in his insolence shall be mine again forever. We must walk open-eyed into that trap with courage, but small hope for ourselves. For, my lords, it may well prove that we ourselves shall perish utterly in a black battle far from the living lands, so that even if Barad-dûr be thrown down, we shall not live to see a new age. But this, I deem, is our duty, and better so than to perish none the less, as we surely shall if we sit here, and know as we die that no new age shall be. Better to die with hope than die without hope. Wow, and they were silent for a while. Yeah, that was bleak, Gandalf. I'm curious if Aragorn's going to bring up, how do they know this timing is going to work? How, because if they're going to be a distraction, they'd want to be a distraction for the perfect moment. But just tough. Like, how do you know if this is the right moment? Do you wait? Where's Frodo? If you're going to clear out the lands of Mordor, if the battle is over too quickly, there's nothing. Well, I guess you just have to have faith. Let's see. At length, Aragorn spoke. Oh, at length. As I have begun, so I will go on. We come now to the very brink, where hope and despair are akin. To waver is to fall. Let none now reject the counsels. Oh, well, that's not a big debate. He's saying, let's not even reject that. Let none now reject the counsels of Gandalf, whose long labors against Sauron come at last to their test. But for him, all would long ago have been lost. Nonetheless, I do not yet claim to command any man. Let others choose as they will. Then said Elrohir, from the north we came with this purpose, and from Elrond our father we brought this very counsel. We will not turn back. As for myself, said Éomer, I have little knowledge of these deep matters, but I need it not. This I know, and it is enough, that as my friend Aragorn succored me and my people, so I will aid him when he calls. I will go. As for me, said Emerhill, the Lord Aragorn I hold to be my liege lord. Wow! Whether he claim it or not, his wish is to me a command. Liege lord, whether he claim it or not. Haven't heard that out loud yet. Feels good to hear that. I will go also. Yet for a while I stand in the place of the steward of Gondor, and it is mine to think first of its people. Wise. To prudence some heed must still be given. for we must prepare against all chances, good as well as evil. Now it may be that we shall triumph, and while there is any hope of this, Gondor must be protected. I would not have us return with victory to a city in ruins and a land ravaged behind us. And yet we learn from the Rohirrim that there is an army still unfought upon our northern flank. Ah, the ones that were, that they went around. So true. That is true, said Gandalf. I do not counsel you to leave the city all unmanned. Indeed, the force that we lead east need not be great enough for any assault in earnest upon Mordor, so long as it be great enough to challenge battle. And it must move soon. Therefore I ask the captains, what force could we muster and lead out in 2 days' time at the latest? And they must be hardy men that go willingly, knowing their peril. All right, good. It's not like trying to just lead people off. This is everyone who goes must know what they're in for here. All are weary, and very many have wounds, light or grievous, said Éomer. And we have suffered much loss of our horses, and that is ill to bear. If we must ride soon, then I cannot hope to lead even 2,000, and yet leave as many for the defense of the city. We have not only to reckon with those who fought on this field, said Aragorn. New strength is on the way from the southern fiefs. Now the coast has been rid. 4,000 I sent marching from the Peligir through Losnark 2 days ago, and Angbor the Fearless rides before them. If we set out, Angbor the Fearless, that's great. Like, who's Angbor? Do we know much about him? I feel like I gotta learn. If we set out in 2 days more, they will draw nigh ere we depart. Moreover, many were bidden to follow me up the river in any craft they could gather, and with this wind they will soon be at hand. Indeed, several ships have already come to the Harland. I judge that we could lead out 7,000 of horse and foot, yet leave the city in better defense than it was when the assault began. Ooh, that's great. So we got 2,000 from Rohan, 7K from the south. The gate is destroyed, said Emerhill, and where now is the skill to rebuild it and set it up anew? In Erebor, said, in the kingdom of Dane there is such skill, said Aragorn, and if all hope do not perish, then in time I will send Gimli, Glowin' Sun, to ask for rights of the mountain. But men are better than gates, and no gate will endure against our enemy if men desert it. I mean, yeah, fair point. Wisdom there. No gate. And there really should have been, should be a gate. Can they set up something temporary? They could probably set up something that can't be reopened very easily. Like it stays open for a while, and then as soon as the moment comes, you just start piling things up. I don't know. I'm sure they can come up with some solution. Yeah, they just have to keep Sauron preoccupied as long as possible. Éomer is a great character. Angbor the Gondorian, the leader that didn't run away when the dead came. Oh, yeah, he is fearless. That is sick. Oh, yeah. Yep. Okay, Legolas mentioned that. That's the negative about spreading these chapters out. Sometimes that feels like a while ago. Yep, all right. He has earned that name because there were many people full of fear, and Gimli still can't even speak of that place. But Angbor, the stuff of legendary leading. That's great. All right, Levine, go enjoy that farmer's market. And then, yeah, I will read to you on the drive home. And if this is you on the drive home, hope it went well. Hope you picked up some good stuff. Sourdough bread, one of my favorites. Yeah, great. Strider gave him a nickname. Love it. Legolas even mentioned that at the start of the tale. Wow, I don't even remember that part. Wow. But great. Love that. I feel like I got to go back and look. Man, I'm so slow getting through this. Like 4 pages. I don't know if I'm going to find it. So back to where we are. This then was the end of the debate. Oh, that was the debate? Not a huge debate. I thought it was going to be more contentious than that. Again, I thought it was going to be a shift from the movies where this was actually like, no, we can't do this. I'm staying here. Aragorn can't be king yet. We got to do this or that. It feels like, okay, end of the debate is fine. So Emerhill is going to stay in charge for now as a steward, and Aragorn's going to lead 7,000. Éomer is going to bring his 2,000. And is it just that crew? Just that, and then a few bonus guys, rangers, other people, you know. All right, I will read on and see. This then was the end of the debate of the lords, that they should set forth on the second morning from that day with 7,000. Oh, not the 2,000? If these might be found. Oh, because they're going to leave some of that 7,000 back. And the great part of the force should be on foot, because of the evil lands into which they would go. Aragorn should find some 2,000 of those that he had gathered to him in the south, but Emerhill should find 3,500, and Éomer 500 of the Rohirrim who were unhorsed, but themselves war-worthy. And he himself should lead 500 of his best riders on horse, and another company of 500 horses there should be, among which should ride the sons of Elrond with the Dunedain and the knights of Dol Amroth, all told 6,000 foot and 1,000 horse. Cool. But the main strength of the Rohirrim that remained horsed and able to fight, some 3,000 under the command of Elfhelm, should waylay the west road against the enemy that was in Anorion. And at once, swift riders were sent out to gather what news they could northwards and eastward from Osgiliath and the road to Minas Morgul. And when they had reckoned up all the strength and taken thought for the journeys that they should make on the roads they should choose, Imrahil suddenly laughed aloud. Unexpected. And now I see only a couple paragraphs left. Hearing them mention that they're scouting northward and eastward, Osgiliath, road to Minas Morgul, does this mean they're just scouting, or are they retaking that territory? Because I guess they don't want to spread themselves too thin, but I guess I'm thinking retake Osgiliath, right? And could they push through to Minas Morgul? That's too bold, maybe, because it's another like fortress, and could they actually get in, and what kind of evil is there? I thought some of this debate would be whether to go to the Black Gate or to Minas Morgul. But I guess if they know that Frodo and Sam went up to Cirith Ungol, it would be a little silly to draw the eye that direction. So maybe that's why they go north. But yeah, all right, maybe I just answered my own question. But it feels like, oh, you have this like victory and momentum, claim as much as you can in this direction, and then rebuild some walls and try and build your strength. Tough to do. So yeah. The Rohirrim were really bled. So true. Oh, we have the losses. Yeah. 2,000 to 2,500 losses. 6,000, 6,500. Oh, okay. So like they lost like a third, nearing a half, you know? Yeah. Angels, so true. It didn't feel like a debate. It was a Gandalf lecture, and then other people being like, yeah, you're pretty wise. Sounds good. That's not a debate. We're doing, let's see. 40 minutes behind. Catching up on double speed. C is always hard. So it's Kelos and Kirill. Is that the hard C? Yeah, I'm always taking my proper pronunciation cues from you guys. Thank you. And even harder in a chat like this, but you guys are doing it great. So Cirith Ungol, because it's hard C. Okay, is that what it is? Although what we learned in the last stream is that it also depends where these words originated, because certain originations are pronounced certain ways, and other ways they aren't. So I was like, wow, this gets intense. So I'm just going to continue to go with you guys. Thanks, Sarah. There it is. Kelos and Kirill. Yes, I believe you have told me that before, but I'm going to need plenty of reminding. The Swan Knights, because Imrahil is the one with the swan on his banner, right? Oh, yeah, because that's the one that was flowing in the wind at the end of the last chapter. I'm glad you're reading or doing it in double speed. I love listening to things in double speed. Some books on tape. Who listens to tape anymore? Audiobooks. That's the word modern people use. I do it even on triple speed because they read so stinking slow. But I'm sorry for anyone on double speed. I will try to speak a little slower because I know I talk fast sometimes, and it's probably tricky. But props to you. They did need to have this discussion. Agreed. And last debate seems a fair name in some ways, but it just seems I imagined it more harsh. This is a very gentlemanly debate. That's really funny, Sarah. Tolkien didn't like the way K looks, so he doesn't use a lot of the Ks. He'd rather it be a hard C. That is so great, because he would just prefer that it's a nice C. C does have a good look to it, you know? Yeah. All right. So Imrahil suddenly laughed aloud. Surely, he cried, this is the greatest jest in all the history of Gondor, that we should ride with 7,000s, scarce as many as the vanguard of its army in the days of its power, to assail the mountains and the impenetrable gate of the Black Land. So might a child threaten a mail-clad knight with a bow of string and green willow. If the Dark Lord knows so much as you say, Mithrandir, will he not rather smile than fear, and with his little finger crush us like a fly that tries to sting him? It feels like this is the first hint of a debate we've gotten in the last few lines of this chapter. Yeah. This is very much exposition. I feel like J.R.R. does a good job with this, where he builds it into the story in a very readable way, where it just kind of catches you up. You miss things, so Legolas treats us like hobbits and tells us, the hobbits, the story that we're really getting as well. So then we get the full story. Oh, that's what happened. That's how they got here. Okay. All right, now here's where we stand. This is how everyone feels. Now we're going to take action, like a little pause chapter. Chaos in the last few. Now we can breathe easy. We got some kingly moments from Aragorn in the previous. Now we're getting good exposition. And now, So the first bit of debate we finally get, 3 paragraphs from the end. Surely he will crush us like a fly that tries to sting him. No. He will try to trap the fly and take the sting, said Gandalf. And there are names among us that are worth more than 1,000 mail-clad knights apiece. No, he will not smile. Ooh, names among us. Does Gandalf view himself as one of those people? Because I probably would. He's being, a little exaggerating here, a little hyperbole, but agreed that there are some big hitters in here. All the ones that have been mentioned in this chapter seem like that. Éomer, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf. I don't think Prince Imrahil is going to go, but he would be one that I bet could crush it. And his knights too. The Rangers all are worth many men. The Sons of Elrond probably crush it out there. Yeah. No, he will not smile. Neither shall we, said Aragorn. If this be jest, he's like, hey, can you stop laughing, Imrahil? Then it is too bitter for laughter. Literally saying, stop laughing. Nay, it is the last move in a great jeopardy, and for one side or the other, it will bring the end of the game. Then he drew Andúril and held it up glittering in the sun. You shall not be sheathed again until the last battle is fought, he said. I hope he means like symbolically. He's not really going to leave this unsheathed the whole time. Seems kind of dangerous. But you know what? I respect it, and I love that he's whipping it out, kind of getting a chance for us to soak in the sword on the page. John's got one of these, and I've been thinking about it. I got to get one. Got to get some swords. Wow, what a way to end the chapter. A little bit of debate, and Aragorn kind of saying, hey, shape up, no more laughing. Someone said in the chat that Aragorn's trying not to force anyone to do anything, and it's true, he isn't. He is, that's why it's a debate. He wants to discuss. He wants to talk it out and give everyone a choice. He's not telling people, we're doing this. He wants everyone to have the information and make their own decision, and Gandalf is being pretty honest. This is leading to death. There is not much hope for us. And does Gandalf know that there is a little hope here? That they actually can survive this? I don't know. But he's being honest that there's not much, and they're going to die either way. Either in a few weeks or months in Minas Tirith after prolonging the inevitable, or in this way, where there's actually hope of defeating Sauron long term, even if there's no hope for them personally. So, yeah, of course he isn't going to sheathe his sword. It's Aragorn. When he sleeps, he can hold it on his chest, or just hang it up, swinging around. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Snow, you're the one who said that. I wish Halbarad was here. Yeah, there's some grieving. Yep. They could absolutely. They could die distracting Sauron, even if Frodo succeeds. Like, not before the distraction is done. This distraction could be days before Frodo succeeds, even if he does. And they'll never know the conclusion. That's the crazy part. You shall not be... Oh, wait, what? Does he say not be unsheathed? He drew Anduril. You shall not be sheathed again until the battle is fought. So no, PR, he does say you shall not be sheathed again, because he whips it out, glimmering in the sun, and that's why it's like a cool moment. I'm picturing in the movies they do this moment when Elrond brings him the sword before he goes to the Path of the Dead. I'm picturing that because that's also an intent. I'm picturing that kind of thing right here. You shall not be sheathed again until the last battle is fought. So I'm hoping, in a very Tolkien fashion, that we actually get that resheathing in the future, where he knows that there is hope, and it will say, and Aragorn sheathed his sword. So that will be our little literary signal that the last battle has been fought. Took a peek at the next chapter. The Black Gate opens. I don't want to read any more than that, but the Black Gate opens is... Things are happening fast. Man, we're leaving Frodo and Sam hanging for so stinking long. I keep thinking we're going to get another chapter with them. Imagine this without the movies. The last battle will not be fought in this book. True, because we got to finish book 5 and wow. I like all the jumping back and forth. It feels like it's slowed, where we're spending many chapters with certain characters jumping back and forth. It feels like it's been a while for Frodo and Sam, but I guess we've had that in the past too. We go whole books. I was thinking about Gollum a little this week. I was like, why do I miss Gollum? What? It won't be fought in Lord of the Rings at all. What do you mean? His sword is going to be unsheathed forever? Are we going to get that last battle? Or does he never sheath his sword again? He's always ready for more battle? No. You know what? We'll see. I found myself kind of missing Gollum. I'm like, why do I miss Gollum? It is interesting, just because he's a unique character, and I've been feeling for him somehow, even after all this betrayal, and trying to figure out where his place is in my mind, because I've been thinking about how Gandalf talks about not wanting to kill and talks about, death is a big thing. What's his line he says to Frodo? It shouldn't be dealt out. Who are we to determine death? Things like that, talking about Gollum. And Gollum is a character who has a huge impact on the story. And I don't understand him or his motives or his fate in many ways. And he doesn't have that much page time for how impactful he is, I guess. Maybe that's how I'm just feeling because I haven't seen him on the page in a while. And yeah, so it just kind of feels a little funny. Yeah, definitely got to be careful sleeping with a sword. Dangerous thing to do, even under the pillow. You poke your eye out or something. Wow, seems like we're going to get a lot more going on in future books in Silmarillion. Wow. And thanks for not spoiling it, guys, but wow, Jackson doesn't tell the full tale. Ooh, I love it. I love how many more things we're going to get. Yeah, so in book 4, chapter 3, the Black Gate is closed. That's literally the name of that chapter. That's great. So they saw it closed. Maybe it's been closed since then. And yeah, it's about to open back up. Oh, good reminder too, MacPack. Frodo is the narrator of the story. So he is more careful about his personal battles. Yeah, that's another good perspective, and I love playing with those different perspectives of characters. And it's one of the things I loved about reading George R.R. Martin, and now seeing it in this as well, different perspectives. But yeah, so Frodo's being a little less bold about his own struggles so far. We'll see what comes. You know what? Actually, I'm going to peek. Not any spoilers. Just at the length of the next chapter. That'll help me determine when I can jump in here. If I know that I can do a stream in 2 hours or so, that changes things. Oh, this is a relatively short chapter. Okay, maybe I can do this one kind of soon too. But if it potentially could grow longer, I need to have a full day prepared. And I'm going to look at my calendar with you guys to kind of gauge some things. You know what? This weekend I might be able to. 2 o'clock has worked well for me. And thanks for being here, guys, with such a last minute throwing it on the calendar thing. I might have to do that again this weekend. I know it means less people can join. So if you're watching this after it's live, thanks for checking in after. I'll try to give as much notice as I can. I see a little window, maybe Sunday. I have a birthday party for my niece, but maybe. And if not, I will definitely have some time next week. And then I'm going to go mini vacation, going off to D.C. Got to show my son, the capital, check it all out while I have all this extra leave. So next week might be a little bit of a snug one, but I would love to finish book 5 obviously before Christmas, because I want to get another couple chapters in. But we'll see. And then I'm going to be catching up to John. Oh, no. And John's going to be live on Sunday. Good reminder. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so I'm going to work around that. Can't interfere with that. Is tomorrow too soon? That's the question I'm debating. I'll decide soon, and I'll throw it on the calendar. If tomorrow is too soon, then Monday after John. And then soon, I'm going to be caught up to John. Then we'll see what we do. Wow. All righty. There was something else I was going to say, but now I forget what it is. And because we mentioned how we used to do podcast things, I'm going to do it here. My favorite character in these chapters, I tend to lean towards the same characters that I'm just drawn to. And I have said Merry and Pippin have been kind of the same to me, but Pippin is edging up to me. I think I like Pippin a little bit more. He is younger, but somehow seems more level-headed. Merry's saying, I'm not going to smoke, like in the last chapter. He's like, dude, come on, what are you doing? Pippin's great. But he didn't have that much to say here. He was kind of prodding for more information. That was good. I love Gimli. Gimli was too scared to share. You know what? This might be the most we've heard Legolas speak the whole time. And I liked hearing him recount the information, getting more of his perspective, and the struggle of him wrestling with his future in Middle Earth. I think the way the chapter ended, Aragorn was my favorite character. He is making huge decisions here, and we are seeing kingliness out of him, even in the way Legolas describes him, and Gimli chimes in to say the same. He is becoming a king in front of our very eyes. So Aragorn, favorite character. But my favorite moment is, thanks to you guys, connecting the things Legolas was saying back to what Galadriel said to them through Gandalf in the White Rider chapter. So I'm going to say that was my favorite moment, where Legolas is wrestling with his future in Middle-earth and the seagulls and the sea for the first time, knowing that he'll never be content under trees again. I just think that was kind of profound. And sometimes I think in terms of impact a chapter has on me, moments like, what will I be thinking about in a few weeks? Or in a random day, months from now, I might be thinking back to that dynamic of Legolas never being able to view things the same way again. His whole life shifted. And I keep mentioning my son, but in some ways that's how it feels. Whoa, my whole life is different now. I will never be the same again. I am now a father forever. There is a major shift in mentality and in everything. And it feels like there are many moments in life that are like that. And to be able to witness that in Legolas, he knows it. Galadriel even warned him of it. And he says, wow, things are never going to be the same again now. So I'm going to think about that. That's why it's going to be my favorite moment for this one. Yeah, great window into the Elvish perspective. And of course, yeah, we get that with Gimli and the dwarves. But I think, again, this was the most I can recall we heard from Legolas. Someone said that maybe in the last chapter, similar to Aragorn. It was like the most we heard from Aragorn. A big old line, chunky paragraph, and it was like really funny, kind of funny lines from him, the most humorous we got from him. And I'm really soaking that in. It feels like cool moments that we're getting here, which I didn't expect in the midst of all this battle. So Aragorn, favorite character, the Legolas struggle, Middle-earth, growing as an elf here, favorite moment, and the hot tamale, would maybe go. Pippin seems an easy one because he's out there being feisty all the time. But I'm actually going to go Imrahil because he's kind of laughing and somehow able to stay light in all of this. And I'm taking that to be relatively playful. I'm taking that to come from a place of confidence where he's... even though Aragorn kind of scolds him and says, don't laugh, this is, but I think that shows a certain level of leadership. He's prioritizing his people like he should. He's down here with this council, having this little debate. He's being really supportive. He's acknowledging Aragorn, and he still feels light somehow. So it feels like, a laugh in despair and cynicism. That's a good way to say it, PR. I think that to me is a little bit of a hot tamale energy. It's like a little bit sassy, a little like, what are we doing? Like, oh man, this is crazy. And I kind of like that energy mixed in down there because all the people that usually provide some of that levity or that whatever that energy is, they're not down in this council. This is a little bit more of the serious crew, at least in this moment. So yeah. Now comes the night. So I think that was it. And, I should have studied up on what I messed up from last time. I wrote it down here, but it's too far away. Do we look west or do we only look to? We look to Numenor that was, and beyond to Elvenhome that is, and to that which is beyond Elvenhome and ever will be. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great rest of your day or night. And for whatever words I messed up in that, I will study and get it better. But hey, at least I got it close 2 days in a row. Thanks, guys. Thanks for chiming in. I will talk to you all soon.